had a lot of complications post-op. She put a very good fight on, didn't she, to be fair? We were very, very close. I believed, hand on heart, that she would do it. So even when some of the doctors were starting to say, she's struggling here, I still thought she could do it because I'd seen her do it so many times. I suppose the bottom line is she'd had open heart surgery. That heart was already a poorly heart, and she just wasn't coping in the end with everything else that unfortunately life was throwing to her in that last few days. So Millie was born in March 2013. We knew there was some complications prior to Millie being born. She had a partial sternum, she had a couple of heart defects, she had a hole in her diaphragm, and she had something called exomphalus, where her liver and her bowel were slightly outside her body. Millie was unusual from that point of view, but everything about her could be fixed, and she thrived. She did really, really well.
I'm Sally Roberts. I'm a family support worker at Birmingham Children's Hospital. I met Emma, Ed and Millie during their time in intensive care, and been fortunate enough to keep a relationship going with these guys who have been massive supporters. I was really privileged actually to have got to know Millie and having lots of adventures with her.
She needed heart surgery, quite major heart surgery. The plan was always for her to grow for as long as she possibly could, to give her the best possible chance through theatre. She did really well. She came home when she was 15 months old, and that's when she really started to come on leaps and bounds. At home she learnt to walk, do lots of things. We went on holiday, go off for days out, and we would make the most of what we got and our time at home as a family. What came with hitting those milestones, unfortunately, was the fact that her heart started to struggle as a result. Trying to get them to sit quietly and sleep and get a good night's rest, it's quite difficult to explain that to an 18-month-old with a tracheostomy who was just a very lively, normal child. As she started to get towards 2, we ended up at hospital more often, and more often than not we would end up on an ambulance. That wasn't because she was very sick, it was just the fact that they could get us through the traffic quickly, and they had more of an oxygen supply on their ambulance than we did. As time went on, the hospital started to say to us, are you okay with this? Are you all right with this? You're almost here every other day. The time came in early 2015 when they decided, okay, enough's enough now, we're going to need to do this operation. I remember having a conversation with Millie's heart surgeon who talked a bit about statistics with me. He said that the chance of death for this operation would be 3%. Because it's Millie, we're going to push that up to 5% because she's a bit unpredictable and tends to have her own agenda quite often. Ever since that day, really, I've never believed statistics. Someone has got to be in that unlucky percentage, and unfortunately for us, we were. Some of those complications were just too much for her to overcome. She gave one hell of a fight. Up to the very last second, she was still doing things her way. She was always very particular about her bath and her pyjamas and everything like that, and she knew what her routine was. That's obviously what she wanted, and she was washed, she had a moisturiser, she had her pyjamas on.
The
did everything, and that's what I always tried to do, always to the very last second, did what she wanted. So we did all that for her, and she had a story, her final bedtime story, and off she went. So yeah, that's what happened to Millie, really.
We were all devastated when Millie died. I don't think any of us were prepared for it. But what Emma has done is, how she comes back to hospital time after time and still wants to put something back is amazing. It's inspirational. To want to give something back is amazing. You're one of a kind.
Thank you. The Magic of Millie was something that we set up and we started in 2015 to support PICU. I know how much things cost, but I just think that we could, as the Magic of Millie, just change things a little bit and just make those bad times a little bit brighter. Because that's what Millie did. She brought a brightness into people's lives. She would make the sternest of consultants smile. Nurses used to come up to our bed space because they'd had a bad day, and they'd pick Millie up and they'd talk to her and she'd smile at them. And I call that the Magic of Millie. We've done a lot of events. I like to do one every year. The first year, 2016, we did the Rainbow Ball, which was a huge success. We did Strictly for Millie, and that was Millie's favourite programme when we were at home. She used to love the lights, the music, the dancing. As soon as Strictly finished, I decided I was going to have a bit of a break, which lasted about 3 or 4 days. So I decided to do Millie's Secret Santa. It was something that I really wanted to do, having spent 2 Christmases on PICU myself.
I think no family ever wants to find themselves on intensive care. What Emma and the Magic of Millie team did was just really brighten up their day, and the amount that came was just incredible.
Our plan was to be able to provide Christmas presents for all of the patients on PICU, which is a 31-bed unit. However, we managed to provide presents for parents and siblings and the patients, which was really, really good. We went up to Waitrose and they lent us their trolleys. We got 300 plus presents in the end, didn't we?
It went well beyond Christmas. We were able to restock our playrooms, and when a child has a birthday we can tap into stuff, so it really has gone well beyond Christmas.
We finished Millie's Secret Santa. Around this time, Sally contacted me from the hospital and said, would we be able to help support the summer party?
We have the party every year. It goes for current families, so any family that's on intensive care, and it's just bringing them a sense of normality. To see Emma at the summer party was fabulous.
I took my nephew Stan and my sister along with me this year so they could see a little bit of what we've been doing. We managed to fund the magician and also helped along with some other parents which support the unit as well. It was nice to be able to see Millie's photo at the party, so it was kind of like she was there with us. The photo was around and the parents got to ask questions about her and know that that party was made possible by us and the team really, so that was really, really nice.
Yeah.
Another thing that was really important for me in this whole process was making memories, and when the worst happens as a parent, being able to at least come away from the hospital with something. The bereavement services are brilliant and they do offer a lot to parents, but there just wasn't enough. And you find yourself frantically trying to grab hold of whatever you can and make the best of what you can get.
We work with families that, like Emma, that are at the worst point of their life. Nothing can change it, nothing can fix it, but actually to give something with some real meaning. They want to hang on to anything that is precious, anything that they can keep and hold and touch.
I went to Mother Care and I said I'd like to get a hand or foot impression of my daughter, and the lady said to me, well, we don't sell them but we do them for you here. If you'd like to bring your daughter down, we've got a session on Saturday, if you'd like to bring her down. And I just remember just standing in Mother Care just completely broken, just thinking, not really knowing what to say.
Do I tell them?
Yeah. Do I explain why that's not possible, or do I just kind of say thank you? And I kind of became a bit obsessed with it and I needed to do this. So I ordered then a kit off Amazon to try and do it myself, obviously, in which time then we'd left the hospital. And because I'd left the hospital, I'd lost my support. I turned up at the funeral director's a few days later with this bag of stuff which I didn't really know how to do and how to work it. And the funeral directors thankfully took that from me and basically said, that they would do it for me, and I ended up with this. So this is Millie's foot. When I went to pick it up, they said to me, "Oh, I'm not sure you're going to like this. It's really realistic." And I was like, and it was just amazing for me. It was so nice to have. And this is, at the end of the day, this is probably my most precious possession now. I've got a small box of things which are my memories, and that's Millie's 2 years in that box. And I just thought, this is something which surely all the other parents feel the same. Surely they want something like this. And said to Sally, well, can't we do this? Can't we do this for everybody?
Magic of Millie is actually funded for 5 of us at the hospital to be able to make the kits, to make the sets. And now every child on intensive care that sadly is palliative or end of life, parents are offered the cast. We do hands and we do feet, and we really hope that it's something that we can roll out to the rest of the hospital. But it makes such a difference. It just captures every bit of detail, and you know, a photograph's one thing, but to actually be able to hold your child's hand or child's foot is the most precious thing in the world. Nobody wants to talk about a child dying. It's not right, it's not what's meant to happen. But what Millie's now doing in her legacy, in her memory, is providing families with something that is so precious, and I can't explain the comfort it brings to a family. It really is.
So we bought a CFAM machine. Don't ask me what CFAM stands for, I don't know. It's not something that is particularly funded by the government because it's a machine which gives information. It's a benefit to have it. CFAM was a machine which Millie used and was, in a dire time for us, the only machine that we could refer to as a happy machine. Despite Millie's very poorly exterior, her brain was still sparkling away, and it gave us some good news, and probably the only piece of good news that we had in that 10 days. We bought one of these machines for the unit, so it got a label on it which says Millie on it, so people will say, oh, why is that machine called Millie? And she would like that. There were some awful machines that I hated, that she hated, but that was one that was showing us that, yeah, despite what was going on and what we could see, the brain was still ticking away and was still fluttering as she did. Millie's a driving force behind everything I do in life. She is still what gets me out of bed every morning. I want her to be part of my life, and that this is a coping strategy for me. This is what I've chosen to do. It is like having 2 jobs.
I think she's not just a part of your life though, she's a part of everybody's life. The impact that she's still giving now is incredible.
When I started this back in 2015, 100,000 was my aim. That's where I wanted to be. I've smashed it basically. So we're now going for 250,000, 250,000. That's our next target, and I'll keep going for as long as I possibly can. Hi guys, welcome to Magic and Millie Does Octoberfest. I hope you're all having an amazing time tonight. I just wanted to take a few minutes on the end of the last video just to tell you a little bit about what we've done over the last year. Millie's Magic Matches at the Town Hall, that was an event of 220 people. We raised an amazing £26,000, which I'm really proud of, and this money has been really well spent over the last year. We then moved on to Millie's Secret Santa. This year I decided that we were going to do toiletry bags. Toiletry bags is something very simple, but something very important when you turn up at intensive care in the middle of the night. Once again, this was really well supported and ended up delivering about 300 to the hospital. They're still using these now, and our feedback is that it's been really useful. We also had some really good news this year, which was that we were taking part in a study which was being run by one of the consultants that looked after Millie at the Children's Hospital. This study was looking at end-of-life care and decision-making for parents whilst in the hospital, which is something that I feel very passionate about. I was interviewed in relation to this, and we've now appeared as authors of this paper, which has been published early on in the year. I talked a lot in my video last year about the castings and how important I felt they were. These are now very much in place on intensive care and are offered to all parents who lose a child whilst on the unit. They've now been branded and packaged in Magic of Millie tissue paper, and these are offered to all parents, and they get given the castings of their child, which they can keep and treasure forever. I was contacted last month about consideration being given to rolling out the castings to the whole hospital. It's not just intensive care where children die, there's also lots of wards which have got poorly children on. We would like to fund the castings across the hospital, so this is something we're looking at costings wise, in the hope that Magic of Millie can fund castings for any child that passes away at the hospital. One other thing that we've put quite a bit of money into this year is refurbishment of one of the rooms on intensive care. It's a quiet room. It's a room where parents go to have quite difficult conversations at times, and a room that we spent time in during the last few weeks of Millie's life. This room was quite drab in 2015, and I can remember it really clearly, but now it's been refurbished. It looks a lot nicer, it's had new furniture, it's been painted, and one thing I particularly like is the fact that it will have a plaque on the door which says who's funded the project, spreading Millie's magic throughout the hospital. We're hoping to do Millie's Secret Santa again this year, and this year we're going to go for a slightly different approach. Ronald McDonald House is somewhere that myself and Ed lived at for quite a few months when we were with Millie at the Children's Hospital. It's a place that's a bit like a hotel, and it's funded a lot by McDonald's, so every time you go through the drive-through and put your loose change in that little pot, that money goes towards funding accommodation for parents who want to stay close to their child while they're in hospital. And you're responsible for cleaning your own room. There's a cleaning cupboard on every floor, and all the supplies are provided free of charge. What I'd really like to do this year, it's a bit boring, but I'd like to provide cleaning products for the whole of Ronald McDonald House for their cleaning cupboards. It's not the most exciting appeal that we've ever done, but I think it's really important, and I'm sure they'd be really grateful. So that just leaves me to just say thank you to everybody who's made tonight happen. Spartans came on board right at the beginning, and they're here tonight volunteering in their own time. Everything we've asked for from Spartans they've provided, and they've really supported us along the way. The street foods outside, they've come tonight free of charge, they're giving us a cut of their profits, and that's really good. And also the bar, 50p of every pint tonight is going towards the Magic of Millie, which is really good, so keep drinking the beer. Another big thank you has to go to my new friend Eric from Farm Foods. He's provided all the food for the barbecue, and he's also paid for the marquee, which took out a huge financial cost for us. Magic of Millie's obviously set up in Millie's memory, but means so much more than that. It's a collective group of people, and the Magic of Millie community is what it's become now. It's a big commitment, and everybody who forms part of the team or helps with something does so in their own time, and all these people have got jobs and families and other things that they've got going on in their life. But year after year, when I present my ideas to them, they say, yes, I want to be part of this, let's make it happen. Finally, a really big thank you has to go out to you guys, everybody who's here tonight and who's supported us once again. It gets bigger and bigger. The first event we did, I knew everybody on the guest list, but now people are bringing their friends, people are bringing their other family members, and it's really nice that we've got such a big following. I think we've got about 350 people here tonight, which is absolutely brilliant, and I hope that we've raised loads of money once again. So big thank you to you all. I hope you're having a great time, and I look forward to seeing you all again next year. Thank you.